All right, guys, Kelly commentates here. It is time for another episode of Skate to the Point. This is Unfiltered Ice Chat number 7. Today's topic is who made the Grand Prix Final. I'm going to go over each discipline and let you know who made the Grand Prix Final, as well as the top 3 alternates, in case someone needs to drop out, if someone has injury or other reasons preventing them from actually going to the competition. I will share with you who is next in line. So make sure you listen to the end and get the full list. It's going to be really interesting. The Grand Prix Final is going to take place in Grenoble, France, from December 5 through 8, and is kind of the culmination of this whole series, leading to see who is going to be coming out on top with those medals. Today's podcast is just going to focus on the senior event, although this is a combined event with both seniors and juniors going to Grenoble for the Grand Prix Final. So stick with me, it is going to be super exciting. I wanted to just quickly give mention to Cup of China this past weekend. I thought it was a really beautiful event. I really loved the arena. I looked up Chongqing just because I had never really heard of it before, but it is a city in southwest China. It's growing very fast. It looks very beautiful. I believe it has an island or maybe a peninsula there, but there's water definitely around the city, and it's just extremely gorgeous. I loved the setup in the arena. I thought the watercolor flowers that they painted around was just really gorgeous. It was impactful. I thought the Kiss and Cry was pretty too, one of the prettiest of the seasons, behind maybe NHK Trophy. So that was just really nice, in just terms of the stylistic part of the event. Of course, I wish the Chinese men and women had a better showing here. I think probably the strongest was Dai Wei Dai, getting, I want to say 5th or 6th in the men event. And so, he was just kind of the one that stuck out just a little bit. An Jiangyi is one of my favorite women skaters. I thought she really just popped onto the scene a few seasons ago and just is really spunky, has such great attitude. But for some reason, just the jumps, she really struggles, and she had quite a few under rotations. So she's definitely a skater that I really hope will build on her, current abilities and just really, grow into her own in the sport in general. I come from a season of figure skating in the 90s when we had people like Liu Chen just really killing it in the Chinese skating. China's also fielded some of the strongest pairs ever, and I don't know. I just think they're kind of in a lull right now. I am sad to see it. I definitely think that, they will come back in ice skating. So just kind of a downer to see the men and women Chinese skaters kind of play so low here. But overall, it was a really exciting event. I think the men was a little messy, but I was just really happy to see Mikhail Shaidarov from Kazakhstan really, really do well here and live up to his potential. Shun Sato, again, not being perfect, but just really doing enough here and hanging on, still having great skates, and is just a really artistic, expressive skater. So that was really nice to see. I think the one that's worrying me the most, and a lot of people in the comments are saying this as well, is Adam Xiaohim-Fa. I think there are questions surrounding, how prepared and ready he is. It just seems like maybe he's pushing himself a little too hard, and especially with the final being in his home country in France, I do worry that he might push himself too far. But again, that's not really a question for me or you. It's more so for the team around him. They will undoubtedly, hopefully, make the best decision for him and his health. So we'll see if we see him in the Grand Prix Final. But if we don't, there's a whole host of men who are, the alternates who I'm sure will be happy to take his spot. So we're going to have to see how that cookie crumbles. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's start with our qualifiers for the Grand Prix Final. All right, let's go ahead and start with the women. We have 2 first place qualifiers, both getting gold medals at both of their events. From Japan, we have Kaori Sakamoto, and from the US, we have Amber Glenn. A year ago, did I think that this would be an honest matchup? Do we finally have a woman skater who can actually push Kaori Sakamoto or possibly challenge her? I think of all the rest of the field, I think Amber Glenn is the most current obvious person who could possibly contend for a gold with Kaori Sakamoto. So this is not my predictions video, so we won't really go into who I think will come out on top, but just really interesting to see both of these double gold medalist winners here. The next qualifier was Wakaba Higuchi from Japan, getting gold at Skate America and then silver at Grand Prix de France when she was matched up with Amber Glenn. The next qualifier was Hana Yoshida, also from Japan, getting a bronze and a gold at Finlandia Trophy on the circuit this year. So Hana Yoshida actually got third place at the Grand Prix Final last season, so she's a super strong contender here, and I'm sure she's definitely going to want to try and podium. From Japan, the next qualifier was Monet Chiba, doing very well this season, getting silver at NHK Trophy and basically almost winning Cup of China against Amber Glenn. It was very, very close, and some people, attributed her not winning to just a fluke fall on a step sequence. So definitely Monet Chiba is one to watch here as well. And our last qualifier, eking it out, is Rino Matsuke from Japan. Doing very, very well this season. She definitely has the free skate of the season. She gave a performance that was just, crowd riling at Skate Canada or Patinage Canada this year. So that was just wonderful to see. Okay, unfortunately, every year, injuries are undoubtedly part of the equation, or, sickness, illness. It is, the fall season. So definitely we need to look at our alternates here. The first place alternate is Rinka Watanabe from Japan. So if someone needs to drop out and is not able to attend the final, Rinka would be the first person that they would call to fill that spot. So she definitely, barring injury or something else, definitely has a chance to still get to the final if someone were need to drop out. Of course, we hope no one has to drop out, so that wouldn't be the best case scenario for her, but she should be proud of being the first place alternate. The next alternate is Cheon Kim from South Korea, really doing what she needed to at Cup of China, getting third place, doing very, very well, and she would be next after Rinka. And finally, from Japan, we have Rion Sumiyoshi, doing very well this season, and the Japanese ladies are obviously so very strong. It is domination. 5 of the 6 skaters will be from Japan. And then 2 of the top 3 alternates are also from Japan. So basically they have a stable of skaters at their disposal, and obviously we're going to see at least 2 Japanese women on the podium. That is a for sure thing. So very fun to see. Who are you surprised to see? Who do you wish had made it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, let's go over the men. No surprises here. Ilya Malinin from the US and Yuma Kagiyama, both with 2 golds each, are going to be our top 2 qualifiers to the Grand Prix Final. What I find interesting here is both Yuma and Ilya opted to do back-to-back events this season, and that strategy obviously worked for them because they both won both of their events. But I do wonder, with this small break leading to Grand Prix Final, how they're going to optimize their time, what each skater is going to focus on, because Yuma is really like the one man right now who can definitely contest for gold against Ilya. So this will be a very interesting matchup to see for sure. Our third place qualifier was Shun Sato from Japan, winning gold at Cup of China and silver in Skate Canada in a field that had Ilya Malinin. So Shun, I'm sure, is going to be wanting to get onto the podium here at the Grand Prix Final. Our fourth place qualifier was Adam Xiaohimfa from France. I don't know how he squeaked it out, you guys. I don't know. He's one of those skaters that truly tests the limits. He kind of reminds me of Jimmy Ma, just kind of with his resolve to go as hard as possible. Obviously, Adam is a little more talented in terms of his technical merits, but both of them are very showboat type skaters. And although I want to see Adam very much at the final, I do hope he and his team decide to do what's best for him if he is truly healthy enough to withstand that intense competition. Our next qualifier, also from France, is Kevin Amaz getting silver at Skate America and again silver at Finlandia Trophy. He was really one of the stories of the season, especially at that first event at Skate America. I saw him live in that very dramatic free program, screaming and crying and running out of the kiss and cry and jumping for joy. And It was just so emotional, and so he's definitely been one of the highlights of the season for sure. And finally, from Italy, we have another controversial skater. It's Daniel Grassel. He has a lot of fans, and I do see why. I think he's a very artistic skater. I think he really puts into the program and really projects to the audience. And honestly, he just really seems to love skating, and I do think that is kind of contagious. But he does have some criticism. A lot of people have noted how he hunches and kind of shirks his shoulders when he is jumping up. I don't know. It's just not the most aesthetic type of thing. So we will need to see how he does here, but he should be very proud that he did, make the Grand Prix final this year. Let's go ahead and talk about our alternates. So who will be called to the table? Let's say, I think this is an event that does have a very good chance of someone withdrawing, especially Adam Shauhim-Fa. And the next person in line is Mikhail Shaidarov from Kazakhstan. Although I'd be very sad not to see Adam, Mikhail is definitely one of my favorite skaters. I just see him challenging for the very top spots soon, especially if he continues working on his consistency. Right after him, someone I thought was going to make the final, actually, until I had people kind of help me with the numbers, is Andrew Torgashev from the US. I really see the fire in him. I see his desire to go ahead and place very high. And I really love his free program to Scheherazade. Again, he wears an actual costume, not just some, boring shirt. He actually has a costume, and I really like that. And then another one of my personal favorites, Koshiro Shimada from Japan, would be the third qualifier alternate if they were to need, unfortunately 3 people would have to drop out, so it's very unlikely he'll be going, but there is always that possibility. You do never know. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and talk about the pairs. Our first place qualifiers with 2 golds, we have Stellato Dudek and Maxime Deschamps from Canada, one of my personal favorite teams. They are so dramatic. They are so into it. I love Deanna's fire and consistency, and I just love that she's paving the way for older athletes in sport. She proves that with proper conditioning and training and taking care of your body, if your body holds up and you're lucky enough, you can compete with the best of the best. I mean, they're truly the best in the world at the moment in pairs. So very excited and happy for them. Our next qualifiers were Mura and Kihara from Japan. No surprises there. They've just had some really beautiful programs this year. They missed the final last season due to a back injury that Kihara has. And so, even though they did go on to Worlds in 2024 and win the silver medal, I'm sure they would love to go ahead and medal at the Grand Prix final this year. And another note is that Stellato, Dudek, and Deschamps were third last year at the Grand Prix finals. So I'm sure they would love to win this year as well. Our third place qualifiers were Haza and Volodin from Germany, and then we have Conti and Machi from Italy as the fourth place qualifiers. Haza and Volodin won the Grand Prix final last year in Beijing, and Conti and Machi were second. So this is going to be quite a matchup as well. And then this team, I do love them, Marelkina and Berilava from Georgia. They have done so well this season and should be very proud of their work. They actually won the juniors the Grand Prix final last season. So makes sense that they are going to make it to this Grand Prix final as well. And finally, one of our new teams that I love very much is Cam and O'Shea from the US. Very, very happy for them for making the Grand Prix final, kind of on their, second season as a pairs team together. Let's go ahead and review our alternates. From Italy, we have Ghilardi and Ambrosini. Next up would be Pavlova and Sviatchenko from Hungary. And finally, from the US, another one of my favorite teams is Efimova and Mitrofanov. So I don't know any inside scoop on if anyone is having any potential injuries. Obviously, we hope no one does, and that way we don't have to call on the alternates, although Ghilardi and Ambrosini will be the first up if we do need to do that. So this will be a really interesting matchup here for the pairs. All right, and last but certainly not least, we have ice dance. Our top qualifier is Fearon Gibson from Great Britain. Right next to them with a gold and a silver were Chalk and Bates from the US. And finally, Gillis and Poirier from Canada. You know what's so surprising to me this year, you guys, is that ice dance is kind of the least consistent, which is not usual because ice dance, while it's extremely hard what they're doing, all of it is, their elements are a little bit more stable. So like when you mess up on an element, it impacts your score quite a bit more than other disciplines, but the elements tend to be quote unquote easier, or if not easier, maybe less physical in some ways, because they don't throw the women through the air. And then there are rules on how high above your head the lifts can be and stuff. So it just differs from pairs is what I'm trying to say. But this year it's been kind of chaotic. I am so here for it. I really like when, competition and sport is competitive. That is the way that it should be. Our fourth place qualifier were Guinard and Fabri from Italy with their very dramatic and expressive robotic program. They just got new costumes, which I'm not a fan of if you saw my review video for Cup of China, but I am, glad they made it. I do have to say their short program or rhythm dance costumes are one of the ugliest I've seen this season as well. They look like ketchup and mustard, but what I can't hate on is their dedication to the program and their joy that they skate with. Our fifth place qualifiers, one of my favorite teams, Lopareva and Brissade from France. She has that beautiful red short haircut. She's just very striking on the ice, and I really love the joy that they skate with. And finally, from Canada, one team that is definitely on the rise, but has been doing well for seasons now, is La Joie and Laga from Canada. Now, if we go over our alternates, I was kind of surprised they didn't make it. It was Carrera and Ponomarenko from the U.S. Their third place finish at Cup of China kind of kept them off of getting to the Grand Prix Final. But, they are the first place alternates. So if they are needed, they will be called upon. Next up from España is Smart and Deke. Love, love, love them. I love their dune program. I love the lines they make on the ice. I love the conviction they skate with. They're a very exciting team. And finally, we have Reed and Ambru Levicius from Lithuania. So overall, it's going to be an exciting competition. All right, y'all, now that we know everyone who has made it to the Grand Prix Final, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Who are you excited to see? Are there any skaters that you wish had made it but didn't? I think for me, I wish that one other country were represented in the ladies event. I think the women's event is, I love all the Japanese skaters, so it's nothing against them whatsoever. It's more so just, I kind of wish we had another country represented in the final. It's literally Amber Glenn versus 5 Japanese ladies. And while I love them and they all are unique and different, I just think it would have been interesting. I wish like a Laura Yanaki Gutman were able to sneak in there, or maybe a Sarah Everhart would have been kind of fun. Although we have a U.S. lady, so not necessary, but would be cool. I would have loved if Madeline Skizas had a little bit of a better season. It's weird because I think she has all the qualities of a great skater. I think, I love her clockwise jumps as well, which is just a small thing, but I think her programs did not serve her well this season. I think the packaging was weak. I think the music choices were just kind of dull. I sense like a fire in her. I sense like a fighter of some kind, but I don't think I think her programs try to highlight that and bring that out of her. And I see it, but there's kind of like a disconnect. So I really hope that next season she focuses on getting music and picking programs that speak to her, like personally, and what she would want to present on the ice. I think that would really, really help her here. I'm also a little sad that Cheon Kim was not able to do enough, although she is an alternate, so, she could still make it to the final, but wish she had placed a little higher, maybe even one, just so that she could have made the final. Because I think she's one of those full package skaters. I really like how her styling is a little bit different than most of the South Korean women. And obviously with the absence of Young Yu and Hae-in Lee and their suspensions, it was very, very important that she did well. And I'm sure the Korea Federation pressures her. I have no doubt whatsoever, just knowing a little bit about Korean society, that she was under a lot of pressure and she really rose to the occasion. I really hope that Metal Kina and Burro Lava sneak onto the podium. I don't know. They're just one of my personal favorites. I see all that talent they have from their junior years, and I'm just really proud of the kind of strides they've made here. Now, that would mean that someone else, another team would have to do like not quite as well. So who would that be? It's really hard to pick. I don't know. And again, we'll do a separate podcast for predictions, but obviously just the trajectory and where things kind of stand right now, I do expect Stellato, Dudek, and Deschamps to possibly win as long as they skate, relatively well and kind of do what we know that they can do. In ice dance, I'm excited to see all the teams. I really do like them. I feel bad for Carrera and Ponomarenko. I did kind of expect to see them here. But La Joie and Lagha skating to the sound of silence, I really do like their programs. I think they are interesting. I don't like them quite as much as a lot of the comments online. A lot of people say, they should be the number one team and this and that. I don't necessarily agree. I mean, to me, Chalk and Bates are still just a level ahead. Although I do wish that dancers like Turkila and Versluis could have made the final. I mean, that would have just been so great. But again, it is a numbers game. It is results driven as it should be. So, no crime, no foul. I do know that the results are as they should be. But personally, I just would have loved to see them make the Grand Prix final just because I love to watch their performances. All right, guys, we are finally at the end of the Grand Prix series. We're going to be getting into our nationals events starting in December, leading into January, and then we're going to have 4 continents and worlds before we know it, and the season will be done. This is the pre-Olympic season, so definitely feel like it's going fast, but still really looking forward to the final. I think it'll be a nail biter. It'll be a cliffhanger. Who's going to come out to play? Who's going to be, pushing themselves to get a medal? I think it'll be really interesting to see. And I do want to see how Grenoble hosts the final. It was in Beijing last year, so would really like to see what Grenoble has to offer. And I'm very excited to see all the different skaters kind of maximize their potential. So I love it. I love figure skating and cannot wait. How do you feel about it? Which skaters are you excited to see? Thank you so much for listening. As always, leave a comment below if you do so, please. Over and out. This is Kelly Commentates.